Exposed. How I transformed my sister's wedding misery into an inspiring journey of self-discovery. At 32, I was always the sturdy backbone of my family, the seamstress who repaired broken hems while my younger sister Jessica basked in the spotlight. She was the golden girl, the perfect bride-to-be mapping out her dream wedding with the grand zeal of a princess. As the days closed in on her, her joy morphed into a biting stress that wrapped our household in a tension tighter than the stitches I made on my sewing machine. I pushed my dreams of a fashion career into the shadows, in reluctant support of her elaborate plans that felt increasingly more suffocating. I could see Jessica's excitement crumbling under the weight of everyone's expectations, especially her controlling in-laws, keen on a reception that would be the epitome of extravagance. Every evening we floundered through the kitchen, an altar of flour and frosting where laughter mixed with tears. The illusion of perfection hidden beneath the surface revealed the cracks in our family. "Don't worry, it'll all come together," I'd encourage her, even as doubt gnawed at my insides like an unsated hunger. A gifted hand at creating dresses, I found solace in my craft. Yet as I sat stitching for her, the familiar fumes of frustration clouded my mind. Was this really where my dreams ended? Did bending to every whim drown out my own aspirations? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every pre-wedding moment felt like a subtle prod to my psyche. Inspiration twisted itself around my frustrations, creating this storm of contradictory emotions tangled deep within me. Should I support Jessica's fairytale dream, or thoughtfully break free from the stifling norm that came with it? My throat tightened at the thought, a wrestling match between loyalty and yearning. A chaos brewed within me, desperately mounting alongside Jessica's mounting despair. Perhaps we could craft a day that reflected our true hearts instead of suffocating expectations, but the fear of overstepping boundaries haunted me heavily. What if I ventured too far, exposing ourselves to criticism? Everything could just unravel. I could hear the muffled laugh of my inner cynic whispering that dreams were just that fragile blips of hope that often shattered under the pressure of reality. With every passing hour, I could feel the sharp edges of unpleasant thoughts puncturing my resolve. Yet, amid the brewing storm of our shared fears and insecurities, clarity began to form. What if we redirected this turmoil and injected our creativity into every facet of the planning, something unlike what anyone expected? If only boldness could drown out my self-doubt. Instead, it constricted around my chest, tightening its hold. The feeling of agony gripped me tighter as the big day approached. My heart thudded with unsolved tension, the stakes higher than mere decorations. This wasn't about a wedding anymore, it was about the two of us. Two sisters caught at the crossroads of fulfillment and tradition. Would we craft a day worthy of our family values? Or would I allow society's distractions to overshadow our vision? The day loomed ahead like a dark cloud threatening rain. I clenched my fists, torn between a desire for freedom and a binding loyalty to my sister. The music would play, families would gather, but would it reflect who we truly were? As the chaos whirled around me, I stood at that critical moment, ready to confront my fears and inspire a journey of self-discovery that could either arise or collapse with the coming sun. In the days that followed, the wedding approached with relentless momentum, each ticking clock amplifying the pressure that wrapped around me like an anaconda. I watched as Jessica donned the classic white dress, her radiant smile faltering as her mind raced with doubts. In that moment, our destinies intertwined more deeply than I had ever anticipated. The wedding was no longer just an affair to celebrate her, but an opportunity to forge connections that could reshape our narrative. As we sat among scattered swatches of fabric and assorted decorations, I had an impulse to vocalize my concerns, to shatter the expectations swirling around us. What if we let go of some of these traditional elements? Could we infuse the day with something more us? I voiced hesitantly, unsure how her perfectionist ideals would react. A flicker of surprise crossed her face, soon replaced by apprehension. But what would everyone think? Mom has her heart set on this. Her words were tinged with anxiety, the reflections of familial loyalty colliding with individual desires. The weight of our family dynamic pressed down heavily, amplifying a quiet realization within me. This wedding represented more than a union. It symbolized the struggle to balance personal fulfillment against familial duty. I had been the steadfast seamstress, hidden in the shadows, nurturing dreams of fashion design that had grown stale with neglect. The thought of taking a definitive step into the creative light sent shivers of fear coursing through me. What if my boldness shattered the very fabric of our family? Yet, every moment spent in silent compliance chipped at my spirit, urging me to transform the turmoil of the impending wedding into a catalyst both for Jessica and for me. With newfound resolve, I determined my next course of action. I began sketching designs that radiated individuality, that merged traditional elements with modern flair. Each stroke on the page brought clarity. I could empower myself while uplifting Jessica at the same time, fostering a bond deeper than bridal dreams. "Let me show you something," I urged her, pulling my sketches from their resting place. The look in her eyes shifted from skepticism to intrigue. "This can be us," I insisted, enthusiasm spilling over. "A wedding that reflects who we are, rather than what everyone else expects." As we sifted through colors and patterns, conversations sparked a shared vision. The tension between her desire for perfection and my craving for authenticity began melting away. I could feel the shackles of doubt loosening just a bit, igniting a flame within me, potential, long buried, stirred to life. However, amidst this excitement, a nagging uncertainty lingered. Would our family accept this deviation from tradition? My mother, especially with her eye for perfection and her guilt-laden expectations, loomed like a specter. Could I balance my dreams and avoid the backlash? I understood these were risks I had to face, but peeling back the layers of societal obligations meant confronting the very essence of my identity. The evening before the wedding, I lay in bed, wrestling with my crumpled thoughts. Gradually, I found solace in the revelation that I was not alone in this. Jessica had expressed her own fears, her vulnerabilities laid bare in the quiet moments we shared. With shared courage, we could question and reshape the narrative thrust upon us. And so, as dawn broke, illuminating a new day, a singular question loomed: would we dare to defy the expectations set by others, transforming not just a wedding day, but our paths toward self-discovery? I took a deep breath, poised on the edge of an exhilarating uncertainty. My heart raced, and I realized I was ready to face whatever came next and to ultimately discover who I was meant to be. The time had come to face the expectations head-on, to confront our family's values, and capture what was truly meaningful and authentic about our journey together. The day dawned brighter than I had expected, rays of sunlight spilling into my room, illuminating the chaos of fabric and sketches sprawling across the floor. Each design I had created felt like a fragment of my identity, breaking free from years of muted ambition. I sat up, forcing myself to acknowledge that this was the day I would step out of my role as merely the supportive sister, ready to embrace a path I had once believed was unattainable. As the morning wore on, Jessica and I teamed up to finalize details, our collaboration transcending sibling duties to become an exploration of our identities. "Do you really think we can pull this off?" she asked, her voice filled with uncertainty yet laced with a spark of eagerness as we sifted through potential changes. "Absolutely. We just need to remember this day is about us, not just tradition," I replied, my determination hardening with each affirmation. The more we discussed our ideas, incorporating bold colors instead of the conventional pastels, intertwining casual and formal elements, the more exhilarated I became. However, lurking behind my enthusiasm was the weight of impending confrontation. My mother's disapproval would be monumental, a crash that could splinter our family dynamic. But an unseen voice whispered that the sting of disappointment would be worth it if it meant honoring our true selves. As we carefully crafted our vision, I immersed myself in the practicalities of each decision, poring over seating arrangements and suggested playlists. Meanwhile, I could feel my pulse racing at the thought of defying the expected narrative. Was I really ready to stand up against years of family tradition? The thought terrified me, yet here I was, a thread in the tapestry of change, threading a needle through the fabric of our familial expectations. With just hours to go before the ceremony, a sudden message interrupted my creative flow. It was from my mother, confirming her arrival at the venue an hour early, meaning I would have mere minutes to explain our deviation from her vision. Anxiety clawed at my insides as I shifted between nervous anticipation and a steely resolve. I couldn't keep retreating into the shadows any longer. I had to speak my truth now, even if it meant severing ties for a moment. "Jess, I need to talk to Mom about the changes we made," I said, the gravity of my words weighing heavy in the air. Jessica's eyes widened, understanding that we were standing at a crossroads. "I'll come with you," she said, a flicker of solidarity igniting the air around us. As we approached the venue, I concentrated on my breath, steadied myself amidst the rising tide of doubt. This was a defining moment not just for our wedding plans, but for my very self. Would I reveal my true potential, or would I shrink back yet again? The moments ticked by painfully slowly, as if the universe conspired to prolong our hesitation. I turned to Jessica. "No matter what happens, I want you to know that I believe in this us." Her reassuring nod fortified my resolve, and we stepped through the doors, ready to confront the reality of our choices together. But would our combined courage be enough to withstand the certainty of backlash? Just as I was about to speak, my mother entered the room, her expression a whirlwind of anticipation and dread that mirrored my internal tumult. The air crackled with unspoken tension, as I prepared to unveil the narrative that had long been hidden. Today's battle would be a test of love, individuality, and the unyielding quest for authenticity. And as I opened my mouth to speak, I knew this was merely the beginning. But would I find acceptance in my mother's eyes? Or would the family I loved so dearly push me further into the shadows? My mother stood before us, her face a portrait of disbelief as uncertainty danced in her eyes. I had always known that our relationship was complicated, a push and pull shaped by years of expectations and uncommunicated desires. This moment felt like the culmination of everything I had kept bottled inside. "Mom, we need to talk," I began, forcing my voice to steady despite the tremor beneath. Each word felt like stepping onto a tightrope, swaying perilously between rebellion and respect. She crossed her arms, a defensive posture that only intensified my apprehension. "What is it?" I glanced at Jessica, who offered me a small nod of encouragement. Her trust buoyed my spirit, reminding me that I was stepping into this confrontation not alone, but with someone who mirrored my determination for change. "We've made some adjustments to the wedding plans." As the words left my mouth, I braced myself for the impact. We wanted to incorporate colors and styles that feel more authentic to us. In the brief silence that followed, the air felt charged, thick with the weight of unspoken history and raw emotion. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line, a sign that she was processing, perhaps calculating her response. "Colors?" she echoed incredulously. "Is that really what this is about?" We had a vision, a family tradition. Her voice rose with each word, coupling every syllable with layers of disappointment. I couldn't help but wonder if my perception was skewed. Was I the antagonist in this scene, or merely a seeker of my own identity? "It's about more than colors," I replied, taking a step closer, my resolve fortified by the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "It's about who we are and how we want to express ourselves. This is our chance to rewrite the narrative, to learn from the past while not being bound by it." The room fell into another silence, each breath becoming more cumbersome. I witnessed my mother's expression flicker. The tight lines of her mouth softened momentarily as confusion gave way to understanding. But the clouds of anger regrouped as quickly as they dispersed. "Your identity," she said sharply, her eyes narrowing. "What about the family? What about me? You're throwing away something meaningful." A wave of guilt surged within me. Did she not realize that her need for tradition had eclipsed my need for personal expression? My heart raced not just from confrontation, but from the realization that my growth meant challenging the very foundation of our family's dynamics. "I'm not throwing anything away, Mom. I want to build upon it, to make it something our own," I contested, the firmness in my voice surprising even me. This was not just about the wedding. It was about claiming a space for my individuality within this familial structure. Jessica moved to my side, her presence grounding me. "Mom, we can honor our traditions while also being true to ourselves. Can't we have both?" I watched my mother's facade begin to crack, yet the tension hung in the air like an unresolved chord. The battle was ongoing. Not a one-time confrontation, but a shift in relationship dynamics, layered and incredibly complex. As I waited for her to respond, I realized this conversation was more than just about the wedding. It was part of a larger journey of self-discovery for both of us. I had been trapped in a silent construct, but now I was speaking for myself. Maybe we can find a middle ground, she finally said. Her voice softer yet wary, a cautious truce rather than a resolution. What if this was the opening I needed to not only push back against her expectations but also start reshaping our family's narrative? My heart surged with hope mixed with the tenuous uncertainty of what lay ahead. But just as I felt a flicker of optimism, a nagging doubt crept back in. If the binds of tradition frayed, would I find freedom? Or would it drown in the chaos of expectations? A thought punctured my resolve. Was I truly ready to lead this change? Or would I falter when faced with deeper familial ties? In that moment, a voice in my head reminded me that this was only the beginning. This battle had awakened something in me, a readiness to confront the complexity of my identity. I could feel it now, the potential for transformation pulsing just beneath the surface. As my mother's gaze settled on me again, a new force enveloped the space between us. But as I promised myself to continue this fight for authenticity, I couldn't help but wonder, what would happen when traditions met head-on with unyielding self-discovery? Would my family ever truly embrace the woman I was becoming? Or would I remain a stranger in my own home? The moment hung between us, teetering on the precipice of change. My mother's tentative words echoed in my mind, a fragile invitation for dialogue layered with unspoken fears. I could sense the rift in our relationship, but also the possibility of healing, and it sent a chill racing down my spine. Finding a middle ground isn't enough, I asserted, almost instinctively. It's not just about compromise. It's about redefining what we see as valuable. My mother sighed heavily, appearing to recalibrate her expectations. I could see the tension in her posture, her shoulders stiffening, then relaxing slightly as if weighing her options. And what does that mean for us? She asked, her tone now laced with hesitance and curiosity. Jessica, ever my pillar, stepped in to mitigate the emotional gravity of the moment. It means reconsidering not just the aesthetics of the wedding, but what family truly means. It's the shifting of respect, asking where traditions fit in the world we're creating. Her earnestness struck a chord with me. I thought I was alone in this struggle. As the conversation unfolded, I began to unearth my own motivations, stripping away the layers of obligation to reveal the core of my desire for authenticity. My mother kept her eyes trained on the ground, as if seeking answers in the pattern of the carpet. Her silence was profound. Was this discomfort the sign of acceptance simmering beneath the surface? Why do you need your own expression? She finally asked, her voice barely a whisper, yet it carried the weight of years of unresolved issues. Because I need to be seen as an individual, as a person with choices. It's important for me to carve out my path, I replied, the clarity of my words surprising me. Each sentence was a small strike against the self-doubt I had worn like armor. I don't want you to think you have to choose between your identity and this family. Her admission felt like a crack in the walls we had both built, but I could not tell if it was a fracture or a doorway to understanding. Mom, it's not about choosing sides, I insisted. It's about expanding the definition of who we are. Your insistence on tradition makes me feel as though I have to shrink. I watched as her brows knit together, contemplation washing over her features. It was a look I recognized. I had often worn it during my own moments of conflict. The concept of allowing for growth while preserving tradition posed a challenge she may have never considered. Maybe you're right, she finally conceded, though the doubt lingered in her eyes. It would be hard to disassociate myself from the past. Hard, but not impossible, I encouraged, feeling emboldened by our shifting discourse. Let us try to respect all parts of us, the family, the traditions, and the new identities we are exploring. A thread of hope tangled in the air, wrapped tightly around my frantic thoughts. This was a doorway, and I could hear the faint echo of Jessica's steady support itching closer to my conviction. As the minutes passed, I contemplated how this interaction could lay the groundwork for both my personal growth and a potential transformation of our familial dynamics. What if, beyond this conversation, we could learn to trust each other, restore forgotten connections, and redefine our relationship entirely? My phone buzzed, pulling me momentarily from the heavy atmosphere. I glanced down, noticing a text from Jessica. Breathe. This is just the beginning. You've got this. It prompted a sense of clarity. All of this was merely a prelude, a prologue to much larger confrontations. Where would this line of dialogue take us? Could my mother genuinely embrace this journey towards evolving traditions, or would her hesitations reveal deeper fractures I had yet to discover? I wondered if we could forge a new path together, one that would redefine family in a way that included my hopes and dreams. Then another thought struck as I looked back at my mother. Would the exploration of our identities lead to liberation, or would it thrust us into deeper complexities? What if by forging this path I uncovered unknown truths about my own desires, things yet unearthed? The conversation had dramatically shifted my perspective. I felt a stirring resolve igniting within me, an elegant fusion of fear and anticipation. But as I looked at her searching face, I knew the depth of this transformation was just beginning. What if the next step was unveiling not only my identity, but also confronting an unseen legacy that threatened to hold me captive? As I prepared to dive deeper into this familial labyrinth, an unsettling thrill threaded through my veins. What uncharted territories awaited us on the other side of this evolving dialogue? The atmosphere shifted as I absorbed my mother's contemplation. A half-formed resolve flickered in her eyes, hinting that uncertainty was beginning to morph into a willingness to engage in this necessary evolution. My mind raced. Every word I spoke now felt pivotal, a step toward both confronting my past and forging my future. The space around us felt charged, as if the walls were silently witnessing our fragile dialogue. My hands trembled slightly, and I clenched my fists against the fabric of my jeans, channeling the nerves into a tangible determination. It underscored a truth I was beginning to embrace. Change wouldn't come easily, and it certainly wouldn't come without discomfort. Okay, let us consider what's next, I proposed, my voice steady yet assertive. How do we begin to establish a new foundation built on both our perspectives? My question echoed in the silence, demanding not only hers but also my own introspection. She exhaled slowly, the sound encapsulating years of conflict. Perhaps we start by acknowledging the importance of both the old and the new, she offered, surprising me with this practical suggestion. I want to understand what your vision looks like. My resistance hasn't solely been about tradition. It's my way of protecting what I see as fundamentally valuable. Her acknowledgement surprised me, and I recognized a new strain of thought threading through our conversation. It was as if we stood on a bridge, both willing to build and traverse it together, even if the materials were uncertain. Here's what I envision, I began, speaking with newfound clarity. I want my wedding to reflect both our familial relationships and the identities we're cultivating. Elements of tradition can still exist, but in a form that resonates with who I am now. What would that look like for you? The questions rolled off my tongue freely, alleviating the pressure of the moment. Each inquiry was like a stone thrown into a still pond, rippling outwards, provoking deeper reflection. For a moment, I saw the gears turning in her mind, deliberating the layers of meaning buried beneath her long-held beliefs. Perhaps we could include family treasures but juxtapose them against a more modern setting, she suggested, the warmth of hope beginning to thaw the ice of our historical conflicts. It could be a fusion where my values meet your vision, and it could symbolize our commitment to evolving together. The validation was profound. I felt a lightness around my chest, having initiated a conversation that mattered. This suggested collaboration felt revolutionary and messy all at once. It was a practical step toward redefining our relationship, but a voice inside me whispered caution. Could mere conversations with our best intentions lead to lasting change? I was conscious of the work ahead. Let us sketch it out, I replied, pulling a small notepad from my bag. What elements do we want to ensure remain? And how can I avoid feeling suffocated by the past while still honoring it? As I wrote down our initial thoughts, I felt the anxiety morphing into momentum. It was refreshing, a shift from focusing solely on the struggle to becoming proactive agents of our transformation. Each point we discussed drew my mother and me closer, unveiling old scars while simultaneously nurturing new connections. I noticed how her eyes glimmered with purpose, and it filled me with unexpected courage to imagine an open future. Yet, even in this shared moment, nagging doubts surfaced. What would happen when we delved deeper into the foundations of our familial traditions? Were we prepared for the upheaval that could ensue? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of orange and pink through the window, my thoughts spiraled into the complexities that lay ahead. How would my family react to our newfound dialogue? What hidden truths might unveil themselves? Questions echoed in my mind, taunting me with uncertainty. What if, in trying to reshape family identity, we uncovered truths about ourselves we weren't quite ready to face? The dialogue would continue, this feeling of embarking on transformative terrain galvanizing me further. Would I emerge from this not only with a marriage but with an irrevocably altered understanding of familial love? I glanced back at my mother, who had begun considering the implications of our new foundation. Beneath her contemplative silence, I detected the pulse of potential, our shared journey teetering on the brink of revelation that only the coming days could unfold. As we wrapped up our conversation and prepared to step back into the world outside our emotional sanctuary, I realized the next challenge loomed vast and undefined. Would we muster the strength to confront the deeper truths hiding beneath our familial legacy? The air buzzed with a chaotic energy as I stepped out of my mother's house into the crisp evening. Shadows danced along the street, but instead of intimidation, they ignited a spark within me. I was no longer trapped in the familiarity of rigid familial expectations. This moment marked a pivot point in my life. I walked, each stride punctuating newfound resolve. My phone buzzed in my pocket, jolting me from my reverie. It was a text from my sister, sparked by a combination of excitement and apprehension about the upcoming wedding plans. The thread was filled with her own doubts, echoing what I had just navigated with our mother. As I read her words, I noted the desperation underlining her need for affirmation and guidance. "Can we talk?" I typed back, my fingers quick to send a message that proposed connection amidst uncertainty. The moments that followed felt charged with anticipation, and I realized how crucial it was to be a pillar of support as she faced her own crossroads. Her upcoming wedding was more than a mere ceremony. It encapsulated the family dynamics we often tiptoed around. Based on our earlier discussion, I knew I had the tools to help her articulate her vision while weaving in the threads of our family's legacy. I could feel the contours of my past melding into the fabric of our conversation, complex yet beautiful, like a quilt made from many hands. What if I could encourage her to embrace our family values, while also allowing her to assert her identity? Would that act serve as a catalyst for celebrating not only her wedding but what we could become as sisters navigating these tumultuous waters together? I paused under a streetlight, reflecting on the newfound insights I had gained with my mother. This was about more than introspection, it was about action. The discussions surrounding tradition had propelled both of us to reevaluate our values. By involving my sister, I could foster an open dialogue about self-expression that we hardly dared engage with before. Before I knew it, we were face to face in a cozy cafe. Taking a seat across from her, I could see the swirling emotions mingling in her gaze: hope, anxiety, and an innate desire to break free from the constraints that had bound us for so long. "Hey," I began, doing my best to project warmth and assurance. "I've been thinking about how we can work together to make the wedding a reflection of you, of us, really." Her brow furrowed slightly. A mixture of relief and skepticism washed over her features. "I just don't want to disappoint anyone. You know how Mom is about tradition." "Exactly," I responded, meeting her eyes with unwavering conviction. "But we can honor tradition while shaping something new. Let us not paint ourselves into a corner. We have a say in this." A flicker of interest sparked in her expression. "What are you thinking?" I leaned forward, my voice steady, cultivating an atmosphere of constructive collaboration. "What if we start with the aspects of tradition that you truly value? Let us find a way to interlace those with your personal style so it feels authentic to you. Your journey into this would be a reflection of all of us, evolving together." The tension in her shoulders eased slightly as she considered my proposition. I could sense her internal conflict, the tug between loyalty to family and the desire for personal expression. Yet, there was something deeper at work. My insights from the conversation with our mother were illuminating how we could transcend the limitations we placed on ourselves. As we sketched out ideas on a napkin, open dialogues flowed between us, intersecting moments of laughter with serious considerations. With each new thought, the walls of doubt began to crumble, revealing a thriving foundation built on understanding and shared vision. Yet, beneath my surge of confidence, a lurking unease twisted in my gut. What if our ideas sparked resistance rather than acceptance? What if joy descended into chaos when our older family members weighed in? The path ahead felt simultaneously liberating and frightening, but I wouldn't back down. Our shared journey stood at a precipice, demanding courage and boldness. We were embarking on a challenge that would transform not just her wedding but our relationship and self-discovery. Could we light our own way while honoring the shadows of our past? The future hung as an open book, waiting for us to unfold its pages. As I raised my eyes to meet my sister's gaze, I saw it reflected in her expression, a mixture of determination and trepidation. Would we, as a family, allow ourselves to redefine what it meant to belong? A new urgency gripped me. The time to confront unspoken truths regarding our legacies had finally arrived. The cafe was alive with the mingling aromas of coffee and baked goods, but I hardly noticed. My focus was entirely on my sister's expression, the way it flickered from apprehension to anticipation and back again. I seized the opportunity to steer the conversation deeper, my heart beating steadily in time with my growing determination. "What are the traditions you truly cherish?" I asked, softening the inquiry with an encouraging nod. "Let's dig into what makes you feel connected to our family." She took a deep breath, and I could see her thoughts swirling as her hands wrapped around her coffee cup. "I love the idea of the ceremony taking place at our grandparents' home. It's where Mom and Dad got married," but her voice trailed off, revealing the conflict roiling inside her. "But?" I pressed gently, sensing the hesitation as a call to action. "I just don't want it to feel like I'm replicating their wedding. It needs to be about me and Chris, not just the past." The fire in her words ignited a spark of inspiration in me. Here was the heart of the matter, the unmistakable desire to honor family, while simultaneously carving out something uniquely hers. Why not incorporate personal elements into the ceremony at their home? I proposed, the idea forming in my mind as I spoke. "We could include a focus on your relationship together. Maybe symbols that represent your journey with Chris, something that feels individually significant." Her eyes lit up, and a spark of courage began to alight within her. "Like writing our own vows? I've seen so many weddings where vows are traditional, but it would feel so genuine to share ours," she mused, her voice betraying excitement that was starting to drown out her earlier doubts. "Exactly." The momentum fueled my words. "Let's mix those cherished aspects of your family roots with your unique love story. This is your moment to showcase both where you came from and who you are becoming." As she brainstormed elements that resonated for her, I felt a surge of confidence. My voice was becoming a bridge for her to cross. I marveled at the transformation occurring not only in her but within myself. What began as a fear of stepping into uncharted waters was evolving into an empowering narrative, one in which we were rewriting outdated scripts. Yet lingering in the back of my mind was the confrontation with the past, the unyielding expectations that loomed like shadows, ready to pounce when least expected. I could almost hear my mother's voice echoing doubt, but I silenced it. What would it mean for our family dynamics if we honored tradition yet made it our own? My sister, pausing to reflect, suggested she was contemplating more than wedding logistics. She was grappling with the implications of our choices, the potential backlash of deviating from norms. I admired her introspection, understanding that change ripples through families like waves, affecting everyone in its path. Maybe Grandma's favorite flowers could be incorporated into the bouquet, paired with wildflowers, something that represents your untamed spirit, I suggested, wanting to weave her individuality into those familial symbols that held so much weight. The dialogue shifted from uncertainty to empowerment, her laughter breaking through the tension as we sketched concepts on the napkin. Every stroke symbolized our melding stories. With every word, crumbling walls revealed new paths forward. Yet amid the surge of progress, a stark realization settled in me. It wouldn't just be our choices shaping the future. It would be the inevitable confrontation with those who held tight to the past. The impending clash was looming, and for the first time, I felt apprehensive about how it would unfold. As we spoke, I could see that the fear tempered by determination reflected in my sister's gaze mirrored my own. We weren't just navigating wedding plans, we were challenging the legacy we were meant to inherit. Vulnerability breeds connection, I reminded her softly, though my own heart raced. The truth was, what if, in our quest to honor our identities, we incited discord instead? But before I could spiral deeper into uncertainty, her face lit with renewed resolve. I realized then that navigating these delicate waters was not just about personal empowerment. It was about forging a new narrative that transcended expectations while lifting each other up. As the cafe buzzed around us, I steered us into uncharted territory, deeper into the maze of family dynamics. How far could we venture before causing a rift that was irreparable? With a heavy heart tempered by hope, I understood that the next chapter awaited us not just as sisters, but as pioneers of a new tradition. Would I stand strong enough to face the storm, ready to confront our family's well-entrenched ideas? The answer felt obscured in the haze of our conversation. Yet I knew one thing for certain: the weight of legacy was heavy, but the fire of self-discovery would guide our path. The moment of decision lingered as I prepared for the conversation that awaited us at home, where shadows of doubt and legacy threatened to loom. How would I respond when confronted by the very traditions I sought to redefine? The impending confrontation lay ahead, wrapped in uncertainty yet brimming with potential. The car ride home was charged with an electric tension, a silent dance of conflicting emotions between us. I could feel the weight of my thoughts pressing against my chest. The cafe had offered us a semblance of freedom, where ideas could flow unchallenged. Now, the prospect of facing our family and their expectations felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. As we pulled into the driveway, the familiar sight of our childhood home loomed ahead. Its once warm and inviting facade now felt ominous, cloaked in the anxieties that shadowed our decisions. My sister's fingers twitched over the steering wheel as she wrestled with her thoughts, and I contemplated the questions swirling in my mind. Would my parents understand? Could they ever appreciate our desire to break free from inherited traditions? Stepping inside, the air thickened with unspoken words. Shadows, remnants of family history, whispered around us in the form of framed photographs and memories that had solidified into expectations over the years. A part of me wanted to retreat, to escape the grip of these tangible ghosts urging conformity. Yet another part of me, a braver part, recognized the necessity of conflict for growth. I took a deep breath, the scent of familiarity mingling with the tension in the air. Let us lay the groundwork for this conversation, I suggested, attempting to establish an open dialogue before impending judgments descended. What if we shared what we love about maintaining some traditions, while also expressing our desire to make this special for you and Chris? The flicker in my sister's eyes indicated her alignment with my thoughts. She could feel the surge of determination building within both of us. Right, she nodded, her voice steadied. We can explain how including elements from the past doesn't mean erasing it. It's just expanding the story, making it ours. The idea planted a seed of hope, yet doubt still clouded my heart as I imagined my parents' faces, their reflections of concern, disappointment, maybe even anger. What if they struggled to understand this shift? My hands now fidgeted, tracing the patterns on the table as I battled conflicting thoughts. It was time to confront not just our family's expectations, but my own insecurities. With a sense of resolve, I stepped into the living room where my parents were engrossed in a casual conversation. The casual tone felt like a facade draped over a deeper emotional undercurrent. I exchanged glances with my sister, a silent pact sealed between us. Mom, Dad, can we talk? My voice emerged stronger than I expected. My parents paused, their attention solidifying on us. For a moment, I could see flickers of nerves painted across their faces. I gestured towards our communal space, an invitation to anchor this conversation before tensions escalated. My heart raced, each second stretching into eternity, as I prepared to lay the foundation of our collective vision. We've been talking about the wedding plans, I began, surveying their expressions for early signs of engagement or resistance, and we want to share some of our ideas. We're hoping to find a way to celebrate love without losing sight of family traditions. Their brows furrowed, but curiosity sparked in their eyes. So first step, I focused on channeling the energy we harnessed at the cafe, building the narrative around shared love, rather than familial duty. How can we blend the past with the present? My sister articulated thoughtfully, echoing what we had forged together. We want to honor our family, but also shape our unique experience. Yet as I spoke, I could feel the shroud of expectation pressing down, threatening to extinguish the light we ignited. My father's brow knitted together, and a stirring anxiety passed through my body. It was evident he held reservations, his upbringing steeped in convention. Before the silence could stretch too long, I pressed on. This means including some personal elements like our own vows and perhaps even introducing memories of Grandma in ways that represent who we are becoming. The room thickened with tension. My dad's stance tightened, brimming with the weight of tradition. Here was the confrontation I had both anticipated and dreaded. Do you really think that the modern approach will honor what we've built? He challenged, his voice steady but low, an undercurrent of tension rippling through the room, and my heart pounded in response. The road ahead was fraught with familial dynamics, and I had a choice: defend our vision or retreat into silence. Yet I knew we had to confront these expectations head-on, to stand resolute for the journey we had embarked upon. I believe change is what fortifies family, I responded, my voice unwavering. It is through understanding that we grow. As my words lingered in the air, the storm of emotions brewed. The future was uncertain, fraught with hidden complexities and potential discord, but I felt the weight of purpose behind our choices begin to lift, revealing pathways yet untraveled. In this charged moment, I recognized that we were not merely advocating for a wedding. We were reshaping how love, family, and identity intertwined across generations. The stakes had never felt higher or more invigorating. The conversation waited in the shadows, keen to unfold deeper potential revelations. Would our family embrace the courage to adapt? Or would tradition triumph once more? With uncertainty coursing through me, the doorway to a broader confrontation lay invitingly open. The wedding day arrived, and the tension that bound me to my sister had shifted. Purposeful resolve surged within me. This was no longer just about Jessica's day, but an embodiment of our collective growth. We had harnessed our earlier conversations, and those fleeting discussions around a cafe table had evolved into tangible excitement. The tapestry of tradition woven into bold, new threads had finally taken shape as Jessica stood before the mirror. Adorned in her tailored gown, her face radiated a blend of nervousness and exhilaration. I watched her reflection, the same reflective fears mirrored in my own eyes that had once cowered under expectation. Now I felt an empowering clarity that stretched beyond the superficiality of the day. It was a pathway to fulfillment. Jess, I began, my voice steady yet gentle, remember, we are crafting an unforgettable experience not just for everyone else, but for us. This is our moment to shine together. In that fleeting moment, I saw her apprehension fade, replaced by a growing anticipation. It was a collective culmination of our individual transformations. The ceremony unfolded beautifully, each word of our carefully crafted vows pouring forth like a sacred declaration of whom we both had become. My own testimony echoed through the air, the lines of recognition and personal truth weaving effortlessly into the fabric of family legacy. I stood there, emboldened, no longer the hidden seamstress but a stitch of authenticity integral to our shared narrative, a statement against tradition merely for tradition's sake. As the officiant declared my sister and her partner officially wed, the applause washed over us, a tidal wave of acceptance. Yet it was the quiet exchange with my mother, who stood in the spiral of the moment, that truly marked my evolution. Her gaze met mine across the gathering, a silent acknowledgement. A glimmer of understanding kindled between us, forging an invisible thread that connected our aspirations. Can we speak afterward? Her lips whispered, barely audible above the revelry. My heart raced. Perhaps the transformation I had sought was starting to ripen. The reception bustled with laughter, dancing, and joyous toasts. Yet beneath the merriment, I stood with an anticipation that pulsed. Our impending conversation bubbled beneath the surface, compelling me to confront what was left unsaid. Once the festivities slowed, I found my mother alone in a quiet corner. I drew in a steadying breath, ready to engage in the most pivotal dialogue yet. I'm so proud of how today turned out, I ventured, gauging her response, but I think we both know there's still much to explore. A softness enveloped her face, creasing the corners of her eyes with unvoiced emotion. You've changed, she said, voice unwavering yet tender. I see it in how you carried yourself today, confident and unapologetic. I realize now I've held on to traditions not just for the family but to shield you, to protect our history. In that moment, vulnerability settled between us like a bridge stretching over years of miscommunication and expectation. I want you to understand, Mom, that embracing individuality doesn't erase the past. It enriches it, allowing us to honor our roots while cultivating who we are meant to become. My words were steeped in both revelation and resolve. Her silence spoke volumes, and I could see the cogs turning in her mind, the walls that had once constrained us both beginning to bend. Perhaps I have been too rigid, she admitted, glancing out over the dance floor animated with joy. What does familial love look like when we allow room for growth? I suppose today has taught me that. Our conversation deepened, an exchange forged by genuine understanding. What had felt daunting now blossomed into a unique opportunity, an invitation to reshape our shared story with acceptance of change. Let us work on this together, I said, emboldened by her openness. I want to create a space where we can navigate our identities without fear. The warmth in her eyes reflected a depth of recognition. She was slowly loosening her grip on the past. This was more than just a reconciliation, it was the redefinition of how we perceived each other and allowed space for growth. As the evening progressed, I felt enveloped by an overwhelming sense of accomplishment, a profound validation of my journey. I had taken the vulnerable step into the limelight of my identity, illuminating my path while supporting my sister's dream. Together we had forged a lasting legacy of acceptance and celebration, an eloquent testament to the transformative power of honesty and vulnerability within the family. Now, in this moment of clarity, my future outlined itself, filled with the prospect of taking steps in the fashion industry, dreams reignited and ambition renewed. This wasn't just a new chapter. It was the catalyst for deeper exploration and self-actualization. I had anchored my role within our family dynamic, not just as a sister but as an advocate for authenticity and change. With newfound confidence coursing through me, I felt my heart brim with the realization of personal achievement, and affirmation that once felt unattainable was now intimately mine. For anyone standing at the junction of tradition and individuality, I internalized the invitation to embrace authenticity. Change is daunting, yet when we nurture bravery amidst uncertainty, we rise and transform, not just for ourselves but for those we love. Today marked the beginning of a beautiful reimagining, a journey into uncharted territories brimming with personal discovery. One step at a time, we shine brighter together. As this story concludes, remember that your own journey is waiting to be explored. You need to subscribe now to this channel and never miss our next composition of personal resilience and empowerment stories. Leave a like now to support the algorithm that fuels these emotional stories, and comment your thoughts and theories about the path towards self-discovery. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could benefit from seeing how one step towards authenticity can redefine willpower and familial legacies. This is the moment to show your support.